Hi, my name is Patrick.
Hey, Patrick.
And what's your name?
Gary.
Gary? Nice to meet you, Gary.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just hanging out on this beautiful day.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Blue sky. Boy, it's wonderful. Wonderful to be alive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you said, when I came up to you, you said your life was boring, but you started rattling off stories that sounded really interesting. One was about your childhood,
Yes.
about an event you had at an ocean. Would you like to start with that?
Yes.
All right.
Somewhere between 1960 and 63, we moved from this area down to Tampa, St. Petersburg, Florida.
Uh-huh.
And we lived down there for about 2 or 3 years. This one experience, we went to the beach at Tampa Bay by Tampa Bay Bridge and was playing in the water doing beach stuff. I was a little boy then, about 11, 12 years old. And my mom and dad and my brother were laying on the blanket taking a nap, and I asked my dad if I can go in the water. He said, yeah, but just stay right here by the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Pap, I will. So I started to walk out in the water a little bit, and I go out and it's up to my ankles, and I go out a little bit further, it's up to my knees, and I go out and I'm way out there and it's up to my waist. Next thing you know, I look back and I must have been 100 or so feet out in the water, and a gigantic fish swims right beside me.
Yeah?
And I look at it, and here the only thing I could think it was a shark. And the most terrible thing you'll ever see in your life is when that shark fin comes out of the top of the water.
I imagine it's terrifying.
And it
How
scared
old were
the
you?
daylight. I was only about 10, 11 years old.
Uh-huh.
And I scared the daylights out of me. And I looked back, and it was so far to swim. And I started looking over on the side, and there was a lot of big rocks for the Tampa Bay Bridge. So I'm swimming over there as fast as I can. In fact, I'm reaching down in the water, grabbing handfuls of sand to pull myself over. And I just get over to these great big gigantic rocks for the bridge. And I get the most excruciating pain I've ever had in my life in my right foot. And here the shark bit me in my right foot.
Oh.
And I'm screaming, yelling, crying. And whenever I see the movie Jaws,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the movie, there was a girl and a boy that is having a beach party, and they go off, and she's swimming in the water.
I remember,
Thing you know,
yeah.
she says, the water's great, come on in. The next thing you know, the shark attacks her. And she swims over, and she's holding on to this big buoy thing, and she's screaming and yelling and crying and praying, and the shark pulls her in the water. Well, my experience is the same. I'm holding on to these great big gigantic rocks, screaming, yelling, and crying, and I'm kicking it with my left foot, and it's biting my right foot, trying to pull me in the water.
Oh.
And I'm kicking it, and for some reason, it lets go of my foot, and I pull myself up on the rocks, and I'm sitting there crying and crying. My foot's bleeding all over. So I start walking down and crawling on the rocks down to the shore, and my mom and dad still sleeping on the blanket there, and my brother's playing. So I get down there, and I'm walking in the sand. Up here, the sand is like a brown type color, but down in Florida, the sand's all pure white.
Mm-hmm.
And my feet was covered, because they were soaking wet, and they were covered with sand. And I'm walking over to the blanket, and here sand got into the shark bites. And I'm walking over there. My dad told me not to go out too far, and I didn't listen. And if I told him what happened, I'd get a good rap in the mouth.
Yeah.
So I never told my mom or dad. They never knew about it.
Oh.
I put my socks and shoes on. We got home, and I went in the bathroom, and I washed it out in the bathtub the best I could. Put a bunch of Band-Aids on there, and I never told them. And that goes way back to around 1962, 63.
Oh.
Fast forward now to 1970.
Okay.
I graduated high school, and it was only a couple days after I graduated, I got a letter in the mail to go down to Pittsburgh for a physical to go to the draft for Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So I go down here, going through the physical, everything's okay. The doctor looks down at my foot, and he says, what are those scars on your foot? I have 3 scars on my foot. And I said, they were from a shark attack a lot of years ago when I was a boy in Florida. So he said he has to x-ray my foot.
Uh-huh.
So he's doing the x-rays. The top of the bite was healed. The bottom was healed. but it looked like there was a type of infection in the middle. And he said chances are, since it happened when I was 10, 11 years old, now I'm 17, it's all healed. But he told me to go to the doctors anyway and get it checked out. But I never did. But the only miracle was I didn't pass that physical for the draft because of that shark bite.
Wow.
So I didn't go to Vietnam. They were killing 10,000 soldiers a day over there.
Yeah.
And I knew if I went there, I'd never come back alive. So that shark bite, as bad as it was, ended up saving my life.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it's never bothered me. I have no trouble with my foot. I could walk good, run good, do everything with it. And if there was an infection, I never felt it. And I never went to the doctor. I never said anything. And I've been...
And you were just terrified of getting in trouble that you kept it a secret.
I just kept it a secret. Well, my mom and dad, they passed away a lot of years ago. And my brothers passed on. So nobody else, like my brother knew the story, but my mom and dad never knew it. They never knew. And if it would have been a little bit harder, or he would have pulled, or I didn't have them rocks, I'd have been a goner.
Yeah.
Because they don't let go.
Well, you were lucky on top of lucky, it seems.
Very much so.
Yeah, it kept
Very
you out of
much
Vietnam.
So. Yep, kept me out of Vietnam. And I just feel bad for the soldiers that had to go. But I'm glad I was still alive to tell this story.
Yeah. You know, there were some soldiers that actually volunteered to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah. My father, he had an argument with his dad, and as a punishment, my grandfather threatened to send him to the army, and my dad's like, I'll go to the army.
Yep.
So he got sent in early.
Yep.
It was 16. So it was,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it was.
That's about what I was, 17, right out of high school.
Right out of the draft.
Yep.
But
right out of the draft.
instead of going to the army, or the Vietnam, which you didn't want to, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
What did you do instead?
Didn't do nothing. I just started looking for jobs.
Well, you said you worked for a steel.
I used to, years ago, I worked for U.S. Steel down in McKeesport. I worked there several years. I had a lot of jobs. Most of the main jobs that I had was driving. I drove not military service, but it was a cleaning service truck, delivery truck, furniture truck, cleaning truck, moving truck. Then drove Pinkerton's security guard truck. As a driver license examiner with PennDOT for a couple of years when the CDL program came in. But my big jobs, after I graduated school, I went to a job with U.S. Steel, National Tube Works.
Yeah.
I worked there several years. Then I got out and I started driving school bus. I drove school bus for 25 years.
Wow.
And I had a lot of kids on the bus over the years.
That's quite a few.
And this is a cute little story about a kid that had on my school bus.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's the bulk of your work was as a bus driver,
Yeah.
school bus driver?
Well, after the school bus years, I went to the Port Authority up here in West Mifflin.
Yeah.
I drove those big double buses that bend in the middle for 16 years.
Oh, wow, all right.
But when I was on the school bus, I got a word that I'm picking up a new student, kindergarten student, on his very first day of school. I stopped the bus, and then he got on the bus. He had a new haircut, new shirt, new pants, new shoes, the book bag, the works. Smiled, and he told me his name, and he said hi, and he sat behind me. I told the mom I'm going to be picking him up and taking him to school every day, but another bus will bring him home, because kindergarten only had a half a day, and I was a full day driver. And I just didn't want her worrying seeing another driver or anything. So anyway, I had him that whole first year in kindergarten, and I didn't see him again after that. Now, 25 years, that's 2 complete generations of kids from kindergarten to 12 graduation, and then the next generation. And I was done driving school bus. I went to the Port Authority up here in West Mifflin, and I drove those big double buses that bend in the middle. But when I went to the Port Authority, that boy I had in kindergarten on his first day of school was my supervisor at the Port Authority.
How'd you recognize him?
I didn't recognize him. He recognized me.
He remembered you.
He said, didn't you drive school bus a lot of years ago? And I said, yeah.
My goodness.
And he told me where he lived, and I said, I had to stop. So he was on my bus.
Yeah.
Now he's my supervisor, one of my supervisors.
Wow. So what drew you to driving bus so much?
I like the school bus a lot. But that's pretty much a part-time job throughout the year.
Uh-huh.
They were hiring, and I like driving, and they were hiring. So I went up there and just put the application in, passed the physical, and then I started driving.
So it was your love of driving that
Yeah,
kept you
love of
going?
driving, yep.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed all those years, but it took a toll on my body.
Yeah.
Driving the school bus 25 years, trucks and everything, all that gas brake. I had to get a complete hip replacement, and I got a plate in there.
Oh.
And all the years of turning the wheel, I had to get a shoulder surgery and a replacement up there on something called a rotator cuff.
Yeah.
So and then I had 16 years. The wife passed on, kids growed up and moved on, so I took my retirement.
Nice.
And now I just drive my car,
What kind of car do you have?
Jeep Compass.
A Jeep Compass. All right.
It's
Yeah.
11 years old and it's still working.
Oh, the Jeep people, they're crazy about their cars. They love them.
Yep.
Do you have any ducks?
No,
No ducks.
no ducks.
And do you ever find them on your Jeep? People. Well,
Um,
what do you do with them?
I don't know. I just drive my Jeep, and that's about it. And I'm glad
Yeah.
it keeps running.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Jeeps keep on going there.
Yeah.
So now I'm ready to trade it in maybe for another one or so.
And you're
And,
70.
73.
73.
74 in a couple months.
Yeah.
But now I don't know if you get later. I don't know if you're going to have trouble getting a loan or not. But I don't know. Just have to wait and see on that one. But this one's keeping me going and brings me down here. And I just look in the bookstore. I got some books and magazines, and I just sit out here in the sun.
Yeah. What do you read?
I have a book about astronomy,
Uh-huh.
and I have a telescope at home, and I look at all the stars.
You do, huh?
This is a unique little story. One of the things I find in my astronomy book was talking about the craters on the moon.
Uh-huh.
And there's one of the craters on the moon is named after the same name as my last name.
Okay.
So I always told my wife that that's our crater on the moon. Well, she passed away several years ago, actually about 12 years ago. And now in my imagination, whenever I look at that full moon, I see that crater,
Uh-huh.
and I think she's sitting on that crater, smiling down at me, blowing me a kiss hello.
Yeah.
So now when I go around and I walk around, I look at that full moon, and I look at our crater, and I blow a kiss back up to her. And soon I'll be passing away, and we'll be sitting on our crater together.
Well, that's beautiful.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
looking
When,
forward
when
to.
I came up to you, you said you never cheated on your wife.
Never
You Never
cheated.
cheated on her.
Never, not
Yeah.
once. Never even thought about
Never
it.
even wanted to.
Never even wanted
and,
to.
And how many kids do you have?
Two.
Two. Yes.
Now they're up, in their upper 20s, 30s years old or so.
Oh, all right.
So they're all grown up, and they take care of me whenever I need something.
Do you still come down to the waterfront in the winter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometime we come down. I go around a lot. We always go into Barnes and Noble. Sometimes we go in a restaurant and eat in there, me and my boy,
Yeah.
and have a good time down here.
Yeah. This is a nice, third place. A nice little social.
I remember
area.
when this was an old steel mill down here before they even built this.
Yeah.
I used to drive by here in the bus.
Mesta was before your time, wasn't it?
I knew the Mesta company, and I've seen their signs around a lot of places.
Yeah.
Right down the road, there's Duquesne Steel and Duquesne Mill. And I ride bicycle on the bike trail a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's a really wonderful trail.
And there's a couple areas I go to in there. There's a big bike trail that comes down here past the waterfront down
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And I ride that down here all the time.
Yeah. It's the Gap and the C&O Trail. It goes
Yep.
all the way to Washington D.C.
Yep. I've been on every inch of it, from downtown Pittsburgh at the fountain, all the way up to on the other side of Connellsville. Not at one time, at different times, but I ride in different sections.
And you
on
still
it.
do it.
I still do it.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good
gets
for
me out and going.
73, right?
Yep,
Yeah. That's
pretty
accurate.
good.
Yeah. Activity keeps you young. I
Yeah,
think.
sure does.
Yeah. You don't seem like an old man to me. You know.
When I was driving the bus, a lot of times people would travel from Washington to Pittsburgh, and then I'd get them on the bus and put their bicycle on the front of the bus, and I'd take them to the train station or the Greyhound station, and they'd get a bus to go back. And they'd always tell me their stories and experiences they had here on the trail. And I always enjoy that so much.
Yeah.
But now I only have a special part where I only go a couple miles.
I see.
about 3 or 4 miles one way and then 3 or 4 miles back. And I get tired because I had a hip replacement and tired of pedaling and tired of turning the steering wheel. And so that's enough for me, and I'm as happy as could be.
Yeah.
Happy as could be. I just love riding my little bicycle.
Yeah. What kind of bike do you got?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's a combination of different bikes.
Oh, I see. Custom.
Custom. I bought it at a secondhand thrift store. It was $35 and I got half off, so it was about $18.
That's a great deal. Yeah, I think the steel is probably worth more than that. Yeah.
But I had to adjust it to my kind of riding. One, I have my hip, I can only pedal so much. So I took all the gears off, and I only have one easy pedal gear.
Yeah.
So I don't
Single
change
speed.
any gear. Yeah, it's one speed.
Yeah. They're pretty hip now, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
In regular handlebars, you have to lean over and hold them, but that puts too much pressure on my shoulder that I had surgery on. So I got a pair of handlebars on there that's off a Harley Davidson motorcycle, and they're high like that. So I could sit there, put my hands to my side, and just pedal all day.
Did you ever ride motorcycles?
Yeah, I have a motorcycle.
Oh, you have one?
I had a Harley. I still have it. It's a Harley
Oh.
Dresser, full dress.
Oh, nice.
Most one.
Yeah.
And I rode that for a lot of years. I had a Harley Davidson.
It's just parked
Sportster.
now, though?
Yeah, they're just parked. Harley Davidson Sportster, which I gave to my son. He rode it, and he's going to give it to my granddaughter. And then I have a Suzuki. My dad had the Suzuki, and he passed away. So I inherited that, and I just love it because it's smaller, it's lighter, it's not big and bulky. And I rode that for a lot of years.
What kind of Suzuki?
Shadow.
A Shadow.
A Shadow. I think it's called a Shadow. And but now they sit in my basement.
Oh.
And I look down there and shine them up every now and then.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, I love motorcycles. I ride a motorcycle myself.
oh, okay. What
Yeah.
type?
I have a Kawasaki Z650.
Okay, I have a Kawasaki.
You have several motorcycles.
Well, this one was my dad's, and I inherited it.
Okay.
And I only rode it for a few years, and I keep it. I think it's a Z1 or whatever. It was the same kind of motorcycle, same year, makes, and models that they used on the Chips police show a lot
All
of
right.
years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. Big cruiser.
Yep, and he rode that back and forth to Florida to Bike Week, and now we just keep it in our basement. My son's going to inherit all of that whenever I'm gone.
Nice.
But that was a real nice bike, real fast. But now I don't ride any, just my bicycle.
Yeah, they're pretty dangerous. I do DoorDash on a scooter here. I get really nervous because the drivers here, I mean, I'm sure you know,
Yeah,
not the best.
sometimes they want to be in a hurry. And
Sometimes.
I just go the speed limit. I don't speed. I always just go the speed limit.
Yep.
And they always want to pass or go around, and they don't want to be behind a
Or
slow
they
motorcycle.
tailgate really bad.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes me nervous, and I take my mind off. I'm looking in the mirrors. If I'd have a problem, they wouldn't be able to stop.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you deal with that? I have a problem with tailgaters. Like, how did you manage?
Usually if I'm going somewhere and I don't want to turn into a road, I'll still turn in there. Or
Yeah.
if there's a store, Kogo's
Let
or
'em
something,
pass.
I just pull over there and then let them pass.
Well, I was on Carson Street just yesterday on my scooter, and it's a little 160.
Yeah.
And this big Range Rover was like 3 feet from me, going 50
Yeah.
miles an hour. And I panic, and my lizard brain takes over, and I'm trying to come up with a technique of relaxing and not getting really angry. But how did you manage? Like,
It's on your mind, and
Yeah.
you're thinking about it.
see,
But most of my driving's in a country area
yeah.
where I live, and it's all country.
Well, I'm not talking
Yeah.
about those times. I'm talking about whenever you have no choice.
Yeah.
Like, do you look in the mirror? Or do you keep
I look in the mirror quite often to see if
Yeah.
he's closer.
yeah?
At the beginning, I started going a little faster. They'd start going faster.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
So I figured just slow down and just let them either stay behind you or let them pass.
And you just stay calm.
Yep,
And
try to relax.
I'm
and
very
calm,
jealous,
because I don't want to be distracted and do something crazy or stupid, or run a stop sign or thinking like that,
Yeah.
or not paying attention.
Did you ever get in
Excellent.
an accident in your bus?
Never.
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 25 years.
On the bus, I had a couple experiences on the bus, but they weren't with accidents.
Uh-huh.
One time I was driving up there, I got a call on the radio, and the dispatcher says, pull the bus over to the side of the road, and I did. It was in a Baldwin area. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Route 51 on Baldwin.
Yeah.
And I just pulled over to the side, and I was sitting there in like 30 seconds. There was about 6 or 7 police cars that surrounded the bus.
Yeah.
And then I seen the officers get up, and they were coming on the side of the bus. And I opened the door, I put the brake on, and parked it there. And I'm seeing them sneak up on the side of the bus. Next thing you know, they all jump up on the bus, they run back. And in 2 seconds, they grab this guy and they pull him up, and they got the handcuffs on him.
Oh my.
The last officer come on, he said this man robbed a store down in Pittsburgh. And chances are he has a gun or weapon on
He used
him.
your bus as the getaway vehicle.
Yeah, he got on the bus to get out of town. But here, what he didn't realize, all our buses have cameras on them.
Yeah.
He was on a camera at the store that he robbed, and he was on our camera, and that's how they found him. And that's how they arrested him, and they took him off in cuffs. So if you're going to rob a store,
Yeah, don't do a bus.
don't get on our buses, the Port Authority buses, because they all have cameras on them.
Yeah. Well, I think there was this guy in New York City who just he shot a CEO of some big
Yeah.
company.
Yeah, I seen it.
And he used the bus to
Got
get
on
away.
the bus.
He got busted in my hometown, Altoona, at a
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Yeah, I know right where all that is.
Yeah.
Don't get on them buses.
Well, first of all, don't shoot people and don't.
Besides that,
don't
even
rob
the
anyone.
store.
Well,
Because you'll never get away with it. Sooner or later, you'll get with you, your conscience will bother you.
yeah. Well,
So mine wouldn't even let me do anything like that.
yeah. Well, it sounds like you have a really clean conscience.
Oh, I sure do.
Yeah.
Sure do.
And what do you attribute that to? You like you know?
Just a good lifestyle. I'd never, if I wanted something and we couldn't afford it, we couldn't buy it, I just erase it from my mind.
How did you do that?
I don't know, I just not think about it or think about something else. My car is, I think, a 2015 or 2016.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm thinking, boy, I'd like to have a new car here, new car there. But I don't think mine keeps running and it's doing good.
Yeah.
So I'll keep on going as long
How
as
many
I
miles
can.
do you have on that Jeep?
88,000.
Well, that's not too bad at all.
88,000.
No.
And it's running good. But then when you get up in the miles there, now I can afford a loan to get something else.
Uh-huh.
But when you get up in years a lot later, you're not going to be driving. You might not be able to get the loan, and
Yeah.
so I'm just having a good time with it and get another one if I can. But it's no major issue for me. I'm happy and content with it going.
Yeah.
That's why that's one of the things I have about life, about being happy and content.
Well, you definitely seem that. I was walking
Yeah.
around and I looked at you and I thought, well, this guy's got some good energy on him.
Had a happy, perfect marriage for a lot of years.
Perfect.
And everything went
Perfect.
good. Never had major issues
I
or
don't-
problems or separations.
And you did, yeah.
And here because of health problems, my wife passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
And it seems like you want to.
Yep.
You're looking forward to seeing her again.
I'm just happy and joyful that I could get through each day,
Yeah.
each and single day. A lot of experiences in life and different jobs and a lot of wonderful things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a hobby, the strangest hobby
What is
on the planet.
No. What is that?
You'll never guess what it is. And I'll have to tell you how it got started.
Okay.
My dad, in World War II, he was a medic.
Uh-huh.
And he used to tell me a lot of stories because he was on the invasion in Normandy on Omaha Beach.
Oh my.
And he had so much experiences there, and so many people lost their life, brave soldiers.
Yeah.
And he'd patch them up and get them going and do as best he can. But one of the things that he would do, since he was a medic, they'd have like groups of soldiers going on patrol. And he'd go with those soldiers, which is nothing unusual.
Yeah.
But he did something at nighttime which was unusual. Whenever they would go, they'd all stay in the woods and it's pitch dark. in the woods and you can't see, over there in by Germany somewhere. But what he would do, he had a compass, and he didn't do this alone. A couple other guys would share like the responsibility with him. So all the soldiers are going to sleep. It's pitch dark out at night, and he's sitting there, and he has his compass, and he faces south.
Okay.
On his right hand was England, France, Germany, all the good countries over there. But on his left hand was Germany with Hitler and the warplanes. And he'd sit up there, pitch dark, you couldn't see anything, but he could hear the German bombers flying overhead. And what he would do, he'd radio to the places where they have shelters for bombs, bomb shelters. And he'd radio, German bombers are coming your way and they'll be there in about 20, 30 minutes.
Give them a heads up.
So what they would do, heads up, they would sound their fire sirens or alarm sirens. People would come out of their houses and buildings and go down into the bomb shelters. And then he'd sit there and he'd listen, and about 20 minutes later, he'd hear the bombs all going off. And then when they dropped all the bombs and they're done, planes turn around and go back, and he hears them going the other way to Germany. But here they sound the sirens and the people come out. They look around and all their houses and homes and buildings are blown to smithereens.
Yeah,
and
carpet bombing.
You've seen all them old pictures of World War II.
Yeah.
The thing was, they were still alive.
Yeah.
So at the end of the war, he got some kind of a little medal. And I asked him, Pap, what's that medal? And he told me this story. Now we live in Pennsylvania, and we're going to move down to Florida, Tampa, St. Petersburg, where I had that shark issue. And we're going down along the Atlantic coast, going down there, and we see a jet flying over, and he has a great big white stream of exhaust that comes out of there.
Yeah.
My dad says, where's that jet coming from? I said, I don't know, Pap, how would I know that? And he says, where's that jet going? Pap, I have no idea. How would I know that? He says, well, think about it for a minute. We're coming from Pennsylvania in the north. We're going to Florida in the south. That plane is coming from this direction or left, which means it's coming from Europe somewhere. I didn't, he didn't know, or nobody knew the city, state, or province. He just knows it's coming from Europe.
Yeah, the
and
east.
It's going west.
Yeah.
What big states are out west? California, Oregon. So it's coming from the east, it's coming from Europe, and it's going to California.
Yeah.
So I learned that, and I always remembered that when I was a little kid. And I have another cute story to tell you about that. But anyway, I remember that all my life. And now whenever I see a jet airplane with that streamer, and I'm looking around to see if there's one, there's actually one way up there.
Oh yeah, it's over.
So you can tell from those jet streams, see the wider part? That's where he's coming from.
Right.
The thinner part
because
is where he's got.
It's been dispersed by the air more.
That's exactly right. So you could tell. I have maps, compasses, all kind of protractors, other things, where I could see and I could use a measure on a compass.
So you're always looking up. You really like the sky, huh?
Yep. I like the moon, and I know where he's coming from. And I have maps with all the major airports in the country and where he's going. So that's a hobby that I do.
I'm sure you've seen the International Space Station, right?
I've seen it fly over, but I didn't see it in my telescope or with binoculars, but I've seen it fly many times.
I've seen it fly right here in the waterfront.
Yeah.
It looked like a UFO, it was so big.
And you could tell how bright it is, that it's not a star.
Well, my girlfriend thought it was a plane, an airplane, and I was like, I know that's not an airplane. That is a space station.
Once you've seen it, you'll know.
Oh, it's big.
You'll know where it is.
It's the brightest thing aside from the moon. You got right there.
So that's one of the hobbies I have, watching, especially in the fall when it's colder, in the spring.
So do you think your grandfather's the one that inspired you to look up?
I don't know. It might have been my dad, because he heard those German planes come over.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was your grandfather.
Yeah, it was my dad.
Yeah.
And he heard that, and hearing the sound. And can I tell you one more experience?
Of course. Yeah.
The year that we lived down in Florida, we was down there for 3 years. We was out on Tampa Bay on the beach. And we're sitting on the beach, and there's nice blue sky, and playing in the water and doing this and that. My dad hears something, and he's looking around. And I wonder, what are you looking for, Pap? And he says he hears something, tells me to go to the car and get the binoculars. So I get the binoculars, and he picks them up, and he's looking through the binoculars, and he sees something, and I'll never forget what it is, and he told me what it is. He said it's a big airplane, and I'm looking through it, and it's the most gigantic airplane I've ever seen in my life. It didn't have the jet stream. He heard the sound, and he knew the sound of those big motors from when World War II generation.
Mm-hmm.
And he heard
So it was
the
a
sound,
propeller.
and he's seen it,
Yeah.
And here, I says, Pap, where's that plane coming from, and where's it going? And he says it's coming from the east, which would be over in Europe somewhere, and it's going down to the southwest. And the only thing that he could think of, with a plane that big, it had to be a pretty big country that's sending it. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at it, and it goes down, and he says he seems to think that was a troop carrier that he used to be in for World War II. It was so big and gigantic and had big airplane motors. It wasn't a jet. And he seemed to think that the only place it could be going was Cuba. And when we went back home, we watched on the news. Now, this is in the early 60s when Kennedy was president.
Oh, is it during the missile crisis?
It's during that missile crisis.
Oh, my goodness.
When they was shipping materials, tanks,
Yeah.
missiles, soldiers, and rockets. Russia was sending him down to Cuba. They talked about Kennedy telling him to get those rockets out of Cuba, or there's going to be probably eventually a war.
Yeah.
But my dad heard that airplane, and we both seen it in the binoculars way before we heard the story on TV.
And you call him Pap?
Yeah, I call him Pap. He's my dad.
Yeah.
And he learned the sound of those motors from way back to his war years, and he knew it wasn't just a general airplane.
No.
And so we
I'm
got
sure it
the
has a
binoculars, we seen it,
distinct sound, huh?
and I'll never forget what that looked like. It was so big and so gigantic. And if Cuba, you go past Cuba to go to, or Florida to go to Cuba.
Yeah, I know. I lived in Key West.
Okay, so you know the Cuba's not really that far.
90 miles.
And that was in the early 60s when Kennedy was president.
Yeah.
And they was dealing with Khrushchev and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm aware of the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that it feels like we're getting close again to
Could be.
A crisis like that.
But I'll never forget that airplane story, World War II, and the Cuban story.
Well, you went from having no stories to a bunch of stories.
Well, I never think that's exciting. You know, I don't have an exciting life. Those are just hobbies that I do. And I could tell you another cute story if you want to hear another one.
Yeah, sure. I gotta go to Duolingo and water plants here soon. But
Okay, this is only a few minute one.
Oh, sure.
A hobby that I have and I've been doing since the 60s. The same day that shark attack, we was down in Florida and we was laying on a blanket and the guy come walking up. I said, Papa, what's that guy doing? And here he had a metal detector and he's going on the beach looking for coins and rings and stuff. And Pap told me that's what he's doing. So I liked that idea over the years, and then when I was married, I had enough money, I bought a metal detector. And this is the strangest metal detector story. See what's going there, a butterfly.
Oh, yeah, nice.
That's the key part of this story.
Okay.
Well,
that's a synchronicity right there.
I was at a county park, and there was a creek going down, and I'm looking for pennies and dimes and all kind of stuff in there. One thing I found that day, I'll never forget, and this is different part of the story. I found an Indian arrowhead.
Nice.
I found a dime, and I'm taking it out, and I dug the hole. And
well, wait, they're made out of stone. How'd you find it?
Wait, I found a dime in the ground.
Oh, the dime led you to it.
I took the dime out, and when I was scraping the dirt back in, that's when I found the arrowhead. And that happened to be an original Indian one, not a fake like you get today.
Yeah.
That went back maybe 400 or 500 years.
Yeah.
There was Indians.
Do you still have it?
I still have it.
Oh, what a wonderful find.
I can't remember where I got a box with all my junk in, and I think it's in there.
Well, it's definitely not junk. It needs to be on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, I just throw all my coins in a box, that's all.
You collect coins?
I don't collect them. When I find them, I just throw them in a jar. I got thousands of pennies and dozens and quarters and nickels.
What do your children do?
My boy, he works on the river towboats and barges. He's a captain,
All right, so plane, trains, and automobiles.
and he likes motorcycles. He's a Harley Davidson man.
Nice.
And my daughter, she's a business person in an office
Oh, okay.
down in Atlanta. You know, like how we have UPMC.
Uh-huh.
There's a big company down there. I think it's called
Healthcare.
Kaizen Permanente or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. She works in the office down there. She's
Oh, okay.
one of their bosses down there.
Yeah. But your
But,
son is a riverboat pilot.
Yeah, he's a riverboat captain.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, that's
I
a
get
good
this,
job.
and I'm trying to think of how old would that Indian arrowhead. When was the last time there was Indians here? 500 years ago? Several hundred, 300?
Yeah, you know, I think probably 300 is probably
That's
at
a
least
good guess.
300.
I don't know if you got anything in your house that's 300 years old.
Well, I have several fossils that are way older than that.
Oh, well, anyway, I got this.
Do you have fossils?
No,
No?
no.
I'm surprised.
I just got that Indian head, and it's just so exciting finding that.
I bet.
Thinking,
Yeah.
I'll start thinking the Indian, he was a warrior, and he started chiseling out of flint when he was a young guy, and he had a wife and a couple papooses, and he had a big teepee, and my mind goes crazy
Yeah.
thinking about that stuff.
Yeah.
So I have that hobby there.
I would
looking for
assume
metal
most
detecting.
likely the arrowhead was for food.
Could have been shooting at a rabbit or something, and maybe
Yeah.
he missed it or it came out. So I do that metal detecting, and let me think of the reason I started that story. I forget there was a reason. My dad told me not to grow old, but I didn't listen.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
Yeah.
I turned 50 this year.
Oh,
I'm working on 51 coming up in a couple months.
I'm in my mid-70s.
Yeah.
Um,
I gotta say, you seem
So
like you're
anyway,
doing really well for
yeah.
your 70s.
I found a lot of coins, a lot of watches and things and jewelry.
Watches.
I just throw them in the box, diamond rings, gold wedding bands. I just throw them in the box.
Wedding bands.
And,
Oh,
So I don't cash anything in. My kids will my granddaughter will inherit all of that.
Your granddaughter, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, you've mentioned her before.
So anyway, I started that. The guy in Florida, he's the one that started me doing it. I seen that metal detector.
Uh-huh.
I thought, boy, I'd like to try that. And then I was able to afford one way back in the early 70s. I used to work for U.S. Steel.
Yeah.
And I got one, and I used to have a lot of experiences with that metal detector. Finding different
Finding
coins,
treasure.
rings, yeah, buried treasures.
Yeah, well, from what you've said, the arrowhead does get me the most
Yeah.
excited too. That's a non-metallic super
And
find.
it wasn't something you would just find, like new that somebody would draw. But that was in the ground maybe 200 years or 500 years or so.
Yeah, at least 300.
Yeah.
I would
So
think.
that looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that hobby, riding my bicycle. I don't ride the motorcycles no more.
Yeah.
So I just do that. And
When did you stop riding the motorcycle?
About 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
My wife moved away, or my wife passed away about 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and my kids moved away, and now I was kind of worried about having an accident. And sometimes I might get somewhere and think, what road do I take to get home? You know, when you're in your middle, upper 70s, sometimes my mind wanders a little.
Yeah.
Like, where am I? You know, but I know I'm down at the waterfront here.
Yeah.
I know this used to be a steel mill here, and I remember all my driving bus days and school bus days and all that sort of thing. So my mind's pretty good sometimes.
Yeah.
Watching the planets and the moons and stuff like that, and the craters on the moon.
Yeah.
Have a special effect.
Do you remember more trains whenever you were a kid back here?
Not a whole lot. I remember I had a bad experience with my mom growing up. She lived in this apartment, and there was a train that used to go right by there.
Mm-hmm.
And it would keep me up at night, and I was never really interested in it. And that whole leads to another interesting story. if
Oh,
you got
right.
time for
Yeah. Why
another-
not?
Another interesting story. Way back in the 50s, I was only about 3, 4, 5 years old. No, I had to be 5, maybe 6, because I was in first grade at school. My brother was about 3 years old. My mom and dad, they grew up in hunting families. My dad, back in the 20s and 30s during the Depression, him and his brothers would do a lot of hunting, and that gave them food because the Depression was pretty tough years.
Yeah, sure.
My mom and her family, her dad was a big hunter, and she'd go hunting with her dad, and he hunted big game like deer and elk and moose and bear and stuff like that. So they were both hunters. They got married, so they went hunting.
She was a female hunter back then. That was unusual back then, wasn't it?
But I guess she was so close to her dad, and her dad would do all that, so he got her involved with that.
Yeah.
So now we're way up to about the mid-50s, close to 1957. Maybe it was 1956 or so. I was a little boy in school. My aunt come to school and picked me up in the car and took me home. And I said, is there something wrong? Why? Because I always get the school bus. So she says that they'll tell me later. My mom and dad, they were out in the field, in this farmer's field, which he had permission, and they were hunting small game, rabbits and pheasants and things like that. My mom and my dad, and they had a beagle dog.
Okay.
They're done hunting.
Hunting with shotguns.
Yeah, with shotguns. And they're coming back to the house because I was going to be getting out of school. And here the dog starts barking and barking, and it starts chasing the rabbit through the weeds. The next part of the story, there was a road that went up this little hill. There was 3 hunters that were hunting in the field that day, and they're going back to their car. On the other side of the road, there was a house, and the lady was hanging her wash out on the clothesline. And that's what they did in the 50s. They had used a clothesline. The dog's chasing this rabbit around, and he's running down through the grass. They didn't see it. They heard him barking, and he's chasing this rabbit, and he's going up toward the road. One of the hunters thinks he's going to chase the rabbit on the road, so he was going to shoot the rabbit, and here he loads his shotgun. Next thing you know, it turns out it wasn't a rabbit, it was a ringneck pheasant, which they were allowed to hunt. He swung the gun over to shoot at the pheasant. He missed the pheasant, but all the shotgun BBs, there's like 1,000 BBs come over, and they're hitting my mom and dad.
Oh, no.
And my dad's screaming, "Turn around, don't look, cover your face." My mom thinks he's shooting at the dog. So she looks over, and she was hit with all these BBs, and 2 BBs go through her right eye.
Oh, no.
And she's laying on the ground, screaming, yelling, and crying. My dad's helping her and picks her up, and he's going to run her down through this little valley up to the road. The guys knew he shot my mom, so they ran up in their car and they took off. The lady hanging clothes, she witnessed the whole thing, the dog barking, the pheasant, she's seen the guys and the shooting. She goes in and she's the one that calls the ambulance and the police. The ambulance come down, they get my mom in the ambulance and my dad, and they take him down to McKeesport Hospital. My aunt comes, picks me up from school and takes me home, and she was watching me because my dad and mom was down in the hospital. They rushed my mom into the hospital, and there's 2 doctors working on her in the emergency room. One thing, they're doing x-rays and trying to find the BBs, and they said the BBs were made out of lead. They make steel ones, but I guess back then they were lead.
They're still, I think, mostly lead.
One BB went through her eye and wedged into her brain.
Oh.
And they could x-ray, so they knew where the BB was. And they thought that even though she was alive then, she didn't die then, she was alive and unconscious with the medication. And the problem was, what are they going to do if they leave that lead BB in her brain? They said that's going to be a big possibility. Not soon, nothing soon, because she didn't have no life-threatening things, but nothing soon. But that could lead to blood poisoning in the brain. The second BB got into her bloodstream, and they was worrying about it going down to her heart.
Yeah, heart attack.
So they're doing more x-rays, and they find out that she's a couple months pregnant.
Oh, no.
Here she's going to have twin baby girls, and they didn't even know about it, so this was a surprise to them. Now, one of the baby girls, the x-ray shows, had died, and they think instantly whenever the shooting happened. But the second one was still alive. Now, the question was, it's in such a bad shape, and my mom's going crazy in convulsions and all kind of terrible things. One of the doctors wanted to do an abortion since it was only like 3 months old or 2 months old, do an abortion because if she has the baby, It would be blind. It would never be able to talk.
Extremely premature.
Yeah, it wouldn't have no arms or hands or legs because none of that was developed.
Yeah.
So this doctor wanted to do an abortion. The second doctor says no. It's a living being. They don't want to kill it. They want to let it go and let whatever happens naturally. So here they're arguing back and forth. So they said, let's let the mom and dad decide. So my mom and dad talking it over. My dad says, let's let them do the abortion because it's not right to bring a child in the world who's going to be in a wheelchair, who's going to be blind and deaf. He'll never be able to walk or play or be like any other kings or kids.
Yeah.
So my dad says, let's let them do the abortion. And I guess they could medically, legally do that. So there wasn't no question whether they were allowed or not. But the second, my mom says no. It's a living being, it's alive, let's keep it as baby as long as it lives, and she'll push it in a wheelchair, and she'll take care of it, and she'll feed it, and she'll clothe it, and take care of the schooling, and she'll do everything. Let's let it live.
Uh-huh.
The doctors are arguing what to do, my mom and dad's arguing what to do, and here the second baby dies.
Oh.
So they was able to take it out, but my mom was blind in that right eye for the rest of her life. And she went on till she was in her upper 40s. So that took care of that situation. My dad was still...
That's a heck of a situation.
Yeah. My dad was laid off from U.S. Steel. And what had happened after that, he kept asking the police, is there any lead on who the guys were or who it was, this and that? And they found out who the guy was who did the shooting.
How did they find out?
I don't know if one of the other guys that were with him, remember there was 3 guys, one of the others told the police who it was.
Guilty conscience.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't give them some names, so they never found out who the guy was.
Oh.
But anyway, the police couldn't do anything because this was like months after the fact, and nobody would test. The guy who called and told them, he wouldn't testify against them, so the police couldn't actually do anything. But my mom and dad found out who he was. And eventually my dad, since he was laid off from the mill for a while, he had a good military record. He went to police academy and he became a police officer in the same department. But they never found out who the guy was. They seemed to think they knew. And the guy they thought it was sung in a choir in a church with my mom. So they started arguing. The guy denied ever being there and never
Your mom
doing
and
it.
him?
My mom and him.
We're arguing, yeah?
They started arguing. They were sure that they knew who it was. Other people, like he was on, not the school board, but he was in the school doing Boy Scouts and baseball stuff. And everybody knew that he was the guy, and they made life miserable with it. So he moves out of the house and he takes off. So my mom's still all depressed. Nobody knows where he ever went to. So he was never charged with that. So my mom is all depressed and she's all sad about the babies dying. So she starts drinking a lot, becoming an alcoholic.
Oh.
And she says when she's drunk, she doesn't think about that. But what happens to me when I was a teenage boy, I was in elementary school. And this is really, I can only tell you this, the honest to God's truth. I would come home, and as soon as I'd open the door and go in the house, I would smell the worst stink imaginable. And what she would do is go upstairs by the bedroom where their kids or my bedrooms were, and she'd start drinking and drinking till she was so drunk she'd be throwing up all over her, and she'd be passing out.
Oh no!
And she was just handled that so terribly. And I'd come home from school, and I didn't want my brother to see any of that stuff, so I'd cover over with the blanket. And I just felt so bad, her being like that, but there was nothing I could do. My dad couldn't even do anything.
Yeah. Did your dad drink?
No.
Yeah.
No, he used to have a beer or two, but he was nothing like an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Anyway, the time went by. My dad's a policeman. He gets a call that a lady robbed a store. So here this lady went into a convenience store and she robbed it and she took the money and this and that. She got out. The guy who owned the store called the police and my dad got the call. So he went down there, And they got the lady, and he put her in the handcuffs, and he's putting her in the car. And the store guy said he's going to file the charges. So they're going to the police station. The lady's telling my dad, please let me go. Here she's pregnant, and she doesn't want to have her baby in jail. So my dad says, you know, you can't do that. You have to go through the court and this and that and the hearing, because she even knew and robbed the store, so he couldn't just let her go.
Yeah.
So anyway, they have the hearing. And the lady gets 6 months in jail. So she's in jail. She has her baby before she goes in jail, and she's in jail. And she was in there for 6 months. She gets out of jail, and she's all mad because my dad filed all the charge and arrested her. So she starts calling my house. My mom answers the phone, and she's telling my mom that her and my dad had an affair, and my dad got her pregnant. And the baby belongs to my dad, and now she wants money to raise the child.
That's some evil scheming right there.
Goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
Because my dad wouldn't let her go. I guess she had a vendetta against him, but he was just doing his job.
Yeah.
So anyway, it comes to a court hearing. They have the hearing, the judge and everybody's there. My dad goes. My mom goes.
Uh-huh.
And the hearing goes on, but my dad had to hire an attorney. So the attorney's talking to the lady, and he's questioning her about her being in jail. He's questioning her about the baby. How's the baby's health? Is it good? Is the baby smart? Is it see? Does it got good reaction, reflection, or and steps? And can his feet okay and everything? And she's saying, yeah, baby's fine. And she don't know why he's asking that. And then he asked the question, how long is a woman pregnant? How many months? And the lady starts, like she's thinking, and she's not talking, and she's thinking. And finally she says 9 months. And the attorney says, how long were you in jail? She was only in there 6 months.
Oh.
That means that she was 3 months pregnant before she even met my dad.
Yeah.
So they threw it all out of court.
Yeah.
And everything seemed to be fine, except my mom, who was drinking. She thought that my dad and this lady was having an affair on the side.
That made it worse.
And she's thinking, since that lady's telling him that my dad's the dad, yeah, she thinks that my dad had an affair with her and my dad got her pregnant. So that gave her all the more reason about drinking. And she's fooling around with other men and this and that.
Oh, no.
It's just, things were just terrible for her.
Is alcohol what killed her?
Alcohol, no. She smoked a lot, and it was lung cancer. She had lung cancer. One lung she had taken out, and then later it eventually spread to the other lung, and that's what took her life.
Yeah.
But do you want to hear more of the story?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So now she moves out of the house, and she's moving down in Elizabeth by the river. My brother lived with her all school year, and I dated my dad all school year, and my grandmother raised me up there. But in the summertime, I'd have to go down and live with my mom, and my brother would come up and live with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm down there, and I never got along with her because of all this telling us stuff about my dad and the Barbies and all that stuff. And I felt bad because she was an alcoholic and drinking so much. So anyway, I was in the house one day. There was a knock at the door. She lived like on the second floor. I heard somebody coming up the steps, knock on the door, and I opened the door, and here it was a policeman. And he comes in the house. He just walks right in. He goes over to my mom, and he gives her a big hug and kiss. Here they're having an affair. She's having an affair with this policeman.
Same police force as your father?
Not the same department.
But this, okay.
But he knows who he is, and my dad knows who this guy is.
Ooh. Man, you're poor pap.
Yeah. So anyway, they're separated now, and they're not legally divorced. They're just separated.
Mm-hmm.
So in the summer, I had to go down there, and I'm wondering what's my mom doing with this guy. And she says, it's none of my business. Don't worry about it. He's just a friend, and he's visiting. And this, she didn't want to tell me. I was in junior high. I guess I was about 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
So anyway, while he's in there, I'd go down to the river, and I'd throw a stick in the river. We lived right beside the Monongahela River. I'd throw a stick in there, Yeah, this is the same river down
Yeah.
here. And I'd pretend it's an enemy battleship and I'm throwing rocks trying to sink it.
Uh-huh.
And I'd be there for hours throwing rocks. And the cop would go leave, and then my mom would come down and say, come on up to the house. They say, oh, I'll be up there a little bit. And I just can't tell her I'm just sitting there doing nothing, throwing rocks. So what I did, I got a big stick, and I tied a piece of kite string on the stick, and I tied the other end on a rock. And I'd throw that rock way out in the river there, and when she'd come, she'd see me down there and say, it's time to come in. And I'd pick up the stick. I got a fish, Mom. I got a big fish on there, and I'm just jerking the stick. And she said, okay, I'd come up a little bit later. So that would give me another hour or so to play down there. So eventually I'd have to come up. And that went on throughout a lot of the summer. She never knew that I was just playing with a stick out there, throwing stones and playing with the stone.
Didn't she wonder why you never had any fish coming home?
I said, oh, Mom, it was just too big. The line broke. And I got her. Anyway, she never questioned any of that. But then her having the affair with this officer, things got pretty bad there.
Yeah, that's terrible. Like the same.
So she'd call me up, we would eat, and I'd go in my bedroom there, and I'd hear her and him go down the hall, and they'd go into her room.
Yeah,
And I'd hear him in there, and that just upset me so much.
I bet.
So what I started doing, I looked out the window, and the porch roof was right there.
Uh-huh.
So I'd open the window, and I'd go out, and I'd sit on the porch roof. But I was right by the window, and I could still hear him in there, and it was still upsetting. So what I started doing, I climbed up, the roof comes up at a gable type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd climb up about halfway, and I couldn't hear him. And I was just sitting on the roof like that. It was on a slope. I'm just sitting there with my feet. And one thing you know, I fell asleep. And I start sliding down the roof.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to go off the roof. Porch roof was to the right. And I'm crying and I'm screaming and I'm yelling and I'm crying. My right foot goes off the roof, but my left foot, and this is honest God truth, the heel of my left shoe got caught in the rain gutter. So I skimmied back up to the roof, only now I went up to the very top of the gable. I crawled down there, one foot on each side, and there was a chimney there. And I'd turn around and I'd sit and I'd lean on that chimney, just like I'm doing right here, and I would be up there for hours. Then I'd hear the screen door slam. That meant that the cop left. And then I'd hurry up and shinny down there, slide down the roof, the house roof on the porch roof, crawl in the bedroom. Because my mom would always knock on the door and check on me, make sure I was well, I'm good, Mom, I'm taking a nap. And then she'd go doing something else. A couple of times I'd go up on the roof, go down by the chimney, and I adopted a favorite song.
Uh-huh.
Judy Garland's Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Yeah. That sounds a little disassociated. Get it out of your head, huh?
Yeah. Take my mind off of her and everything else. And I'm sitting way up high on the roof like these buildings there. Only it's a gable roof. And part of the song is somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, way above the chimney tops is where you'll find me.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sitting there leaning on the chimney, and my head was actually higher than the chimney top.
Yeah.
And it talks about in the song where bluebirds fly.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen birds fly, blue jays flying in the trees.
A lot of synchronicities there.
Yeah. And it says somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, you can make a wish on a star. And I'd look up there and the sky would be like this, and I'd see a real bright star, and here it was like the planet Jupiter or Venus or something.
Uh-huh.
And I'd make a wish that my mom, everything would get better and she'd come back home. But that wish wasn't to happen for a long time yet.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'd think about that. I'm sitting on the roof one day. Next thing you know, I just doze off and fall asleep. And it starts thundering and lightning and pouring down rain. And I'm soaking wet and drenched, and I'm shaking and I'm shivering, and I'm so scared up there because the roof is wet. I always went down, the roof was dry. The stope wasn't really that bad, but when it's wet.
Slippery.
So I climb over there, and I'm sitting on the edge of the roof, and I'm afraid to go down. And all of a sudden, I hear the screen door slam. That's when the officer was leaving. So I figured she's going to check on me. I got to do it. So I closed my eyes, and I slid down the roof, and I went on the porch roof. And I crawled in, and I was soaking wet and drenched to the bone. And I'm standing there shaking and crying. And then I hear her coming down the hall, and she's going to open the door. and I jump in bed and crawl under the blankets. I said, "Oh, I'm in bed, Mom. I'm going to sleep, or I'm tired. It's raining and miserable." So she leaves, and I jump up. Next thing you know, I had all these wet clothes on. I stripped down to nothing. And then I hurried up and I crawled back in bed, and I'm crying my eyes out. And I was drenched. The bed was all wet from my clothes.
Yeah.
And I laid there crying all night.
Oh my goodness.
I remember just, next thing you know, I woke up and it was daylight, and it was the next day. But I'll never, never forget that.
Yeah.
And it was only a couple months after that, my mom and dad decided that they're going to get back together again.
Oh.
So
okay.
she moves back up in the house. And
She was still drinking?
I don't know if she was or not. She didn't when she came in the house. Or if she did it when I was in school.
Uh-huh.
The next thing you know, she was getting bad, and she had a real bad cough, and she's doing bad. And I come home one day from school, and my dad says she's in the hospital. So we go down to the hospital, and we're in the Keysport Hospital. And my dad and my brother and myself go in there, and there's 2 beds in the room. And there's some 2-3 chairs up here in the front. I sit in a chair way back by the door because I didn't like her and I didn't want to be there, but my dad made me.
Yeah.
So they're sitting up there and they're talking, and she's talking to me, asking me if I'm good for my grandmother and if I'm being good. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Listen to one-word answers. I didn't want to talk to her. And my dad's going like this, jerking his head like, "Come on down here and sit with them." And I go, so then he starts getting his belt and starts going like that. I knew that meant that I'm going to get a good beat when I got home. So I went over and I crawled into bed with her. And I'm giving her a big hug and big kiss on the cheek, and I'm telling her, "Oh, Mom, we miss you." And I'm all sad, and it's all pretend. And things are all just all mushy. And we want you to come home, and we want you to do this, and we want you cooking. And my dad's smile, I look over at him and he's smiling. He knows it's all a big joke. But anyway, we go home that night. Next morning was a school morning. And I get out of bed, and because I was in junior high, my brother was still in elementary school, so I'd go to school first. And I come out of the bed, my dad was in the other room right beside there. Tells me to get in bed with him. And I thought, oh, he's going to yell at me and tell me, don't be a baby or don't act stupid or something like that. But I could tell he was upset. Anyway, he told me after we left later that night, my mom died, which I felt pretty bad about that.
Yeah.
Here I'm doing this big show and stuff, and it would have been better if I'd have been honest.
How old were you?
Only about 13 in junior high.
It's got to be pretty rough.
So anyway, we stayed home from school that day. And here it was close to Thanksgiving, because we was going to be off anyway. And this Thanksgiving was like a day or 2 later. So anyway, that night my grandmother, she lived behind us in the house behind. So she moved into our house, and she's going to take care of us. And it was Thanksgiving time.
Was your father's mother?
Yeah, it was my dad's mother. Uh-huh. And here a car pull up the driveway, and I go over and I look and see. And here it's my grandfather, my mom's dad. He lived in Michigan, and he drove all night down, and now he's down here. And so we had our Thanksgiving dinner, and we were so happy that he was here. But after the dinner, then we all went down to the funeral home. And
do you remember which funeral home it was?
It was in McKeesport. I'm not sure if it was named Finney, because there's 3 or 4 in there.
Yeah, I worked for one of them.
For some reason, Finney sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's something.
But I don't know. I think it was on Versailles Avenue, where you go up the road and you go over, and it comes down to McKeesport High Schools. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the one. So anyway, I'm feeling all bad that I was pretending and being such a jerk. And
you were 13,
now she's gone. And yeah, I couldn't make it up to her.
Did you forgive yourself?
It took a long period of time, but I did.
Yeah.
And figuring, well, she's the one that caused she's the had the drinking problem.
Yeah.
She's the one that had the guys fooling around. She's the one that moved out. So a lot of the blame I was putting on her.
Were you alive when she got shot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in school actually, and my aunt picked me up at school and brought me home. And my grandmother was down there, and they stayed with me when my dad and mom was in the hospital.
So you were pretty young though.
Yeah. I was 4th grade.
Fourth.
So I guess you're about 10 or 11,
Yeah, I'm not
9,
sure.
10, because I was in 4th grade then. And I remember the teacher feeling all bad for me because my mom was shot.
Of course. I mean, it's tragic.
Yeah, so, but I got through it. Nobody ever actually knew that I had so many bad feelings. And we were at
You
this.
just kept them inside,
Yeah, I
suppressed
kept them
them.
all inside. And we're there at the funeral home and looking at her in the casket and this and that, and I'm feeling all guilt feelings.
Yeah,
But part of me was glad that it was all over.
yeah.
And because that went on for about 4 years, 5 years maybe.
Her affair.
Yeah. No, well, not the affair, her shooting and where she was blind.
Oh, okay.
So that was a long time. Now all her pain and her suffering's over. And the last thing I remember doing with her, she washed clothes. And back in the 50s, we'd hang them on a clothesline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember carrying a basket full of clothes. She washed them, but she couldn't carry the basket up to. So I carried the basket around the line, and I helped her put it on
What
the
an
line.
interesting memory to have.
And for some reason, I guess because that was the last time that I actually saw her live, and it just stuck right in my mind.
Yeah.
And now, whenever every time I'm out in the yard cutting the grass, and I walk around that part of the house and in the back, like that memory just comes right back to me.
Yeah,
I have no idea anything else that's happened except that part right there,
yeah,
and those parts on the roof.
yeah.
And anyway, it's a long time after that, my dad and us, we went down to this place, and I thought we were going to a restaurant, and here's like a bar or restaurant kind of thing. And we went in there, and my mom was sitting in the booth. And we went over there, and we sat behind her. My brother hurried up and sat by my dad, so I sat next to my mom, and they talked about whether they're going to get together, and they're going to have a family again. And they're not going to, Mom said she's not going to drink anymore, and so it's all going to be a nice family. And I remember that meeting being really nice,
Yeah.
and that was one of the nicest things. And then she came home, and after she had passed away, she had a car, and I sort of inherited that car.
Sort of. Yeah.
And I'd sit out in the yard, and the driveway started up. I never drove it,
Oh.
but I'd
Do
start
you remember
it
what kind of car it was?
up, 54 Plymouth.
Okay, a big one.
Yeah, it was sort of the 50s cars were like real big.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd take my hand at a mechanic's.
Uh-huh.
So for some reason, it was running a little bit rough, so I thought I was going to change the spark plugs. So I went out there and I got my wrench, and my dad showed me how to do all this stuff. I took all the spark plugs out and I cleaned them all up, and I put all the spark plugs in, and I put in the wires, and here it wouldn't start.
Oh.
I thought, oh no, what did I do? And I couldn't get it started, nothing. And here, what it was, my dad figured it out. I crossed the spark plug wires. When I went to put them on,
Yeah.
I just grab a wire and stick it on there. And grab
Okay,
them up.
yeah.
So they were.
Messed the timing up a little bit.
It messed everything up, and it would never started.
Oh, no.
And my dad ended up selling the car, and they towed it out of there. But that was the one memory that I remember that I messed. So any years after that, whenever I'd change spark plugs, I'd always only do one at a time.
Yeah.
It's just a memory that I had of those years.
Well, I got to say, I got to get to work here, but like from those stories to all these stories, that's that's quite a change.
Let me finish that funeral one up.
Okay, yeah, please do.
The funeral was all done, and years went by. The date that she died was November 22nd, and I'm pretty sure that's that day that Kennedy was assassinated.
Oh, yeah.
Now that was years later, and it has nothing to do with that. I just think that was the date, 22nd. And I used to work in a steel mill, and a lot of years after that, I felt a lot of regrets that I wasn't nicer to my mom and all the stuff that we argued about and this and that. So a lot of years after that, on that date, February 22nd, I would go down to the funeral home, and I'd just sit in my car outside the funeral home, and I'd look at the funeral home where all the cars were parked. And I remember carrying her, or I didn't carry her, the other family members carried her out and put her in their cars. And I just remember all that. And I still done that even the last year. Now I'm in my 70s, but I still remember when the day she passed away.
Do you think your experience with your mom might have inspired you to be like the very faithful husband you were?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think so. Seeing how bad that was,
Yeah.
And seeing how much she hurt my dad, because my dad knew that she was doing that.
Well, I thought it was strange whenever you first mentioned that you were like the absolute most faithful. You're either guilty or like super good, you know.
So
but I definitely get the feeling.
I felt guilt about her, being blind and drinking and drunk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, getting shot in the eye. My father got shot in the eye.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Oh,
he was going target shooting with his nephew, his step nephew, and he typically would wear eye protection and hearing protection, but this time he wasn't. And my nephew shot a target. It was like, I think probably 70 yards. Bullet hit the target, ricocheted back, and right in his eye.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, the odds of that are pretty small. But he didn't go blind. He looked like Marilyn Manson, like a rock star, like with like a.
There was something wrong there.
Oh, there was definitely something wrong. His eye was, his one pupil was always really big. I'm sorry, I forgot your name already.
Gary.
Gary.
Let me show you one more quick thing.
Okay.
See way up in the middle of those trees? There's a jet there.
I see that.
Where's he coming from?
It's coming from the west.
Where's he going?
East.
Going to the east. He's coming from California,
Yeah.
and he's going to New York.
Yep.
So that's my
I
hobby.
pay attention.
Whenever I see jets or any streamers anywhere, everybody thinks I'm crazy.
No.
But that's something that I've adopted since I'm
Everybody
a kid.
thinks you're gay? Wow.
Now I'm in my mid-70s when I talk about that.
Oh.
And here it all
Well, that's a
started
good thing
with
to know.
The
That's a
war
good
years,
skill.
World War II, and my dad hearing those planes come over
Yeah.
and seeing all those people killed and bombing. And for some reason, all those stories just stuck in me. So every time I see a jet, I figure, oh, where's the sun going down? That means it's over there at the east, and that means he's coming up there. Sometimes you'll never know the city. So
No, you just got to guess, but you can
if
definitely
they're
tell the
lower,
direction.
I know when they're going to Pittsburgh Airport
Sure.
because they're going in for a landing.
Over there?
And
Is
you
that
don't
correct?
usually see the jet stream. Yeah, it's over there.
Yeah.
West Mifflen is up there.
Yep.
Because I used to drive the bus down here, and I'd go to the garage. I'd go right up
I
there.
know the exact garage.
Homestead,
I've-
right up to the top of the hill.
I took the bus quite a bit from Clareton all the way downtown,
I used to drive that bus. Maybe you were on my bus.
and well,
Y46 bus.
well, how long ago did you work? Or
I've been
was it-
retired. I think it was around 76.
No.
70s.
No, you never drove me.
No.
I was in Altoona then. But Gary, thank you so much for the talk.
Yep.
And I'm going to get a new category because
Oh.
you're definitely not homeless, and you're not an
Happy as
artist.
could be.
But you're very interesting. I got a good feeling from you whenever I came
Yeah.
up, and you're quite a talker.
Just a friendly guy.
Even though you were sitting there real quiet, you opened up pretty quickly, and I appreciate it so much.
Yep. This is one of the places I come to down here. There are several others that I go there and I sit there for hours.
Yeah. No, this is
Memories of kids when I was a kid doing stuff.
well. It's just a perfect day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you couldn't ask for a better day.
Only thing is,
Yeah.
where's those jets out there? I gotta find me a jet that'll cheer me up.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Hope it does something good for your show there or whatever you do.